Hey guys, welcome to the video companion for deadly pressure points for self-defense. Now you'll notice if you've purchased any of my books before that have had videos with them, there's no link in the book this time, right? And I'm doing that for a reason. I know the stuff gets pirated. I've actually had people send me questions over, especially the last year or so, ask me questions about something and then sending me the book that I wrote and saying, well, have you read this? Yeah, I wrote it, dude. Where'd you get it? Well, I got it in Australia. Yeah, sure you did. Anyways, piracy is just a fact of life, and I don't really care. However, because you're never going to stop it, right? However, separating these two makes things much, much simpler, right, as far as that goes. So the reason for doing it. The book itself is a map. Right? It's a pretty good map. It has all of the roads on it, but it doesn't tell you the speed limits and it doesn't tell you the obstacles on the road. So what the purpose of this video companion is to discuss the striking methods that you need to get this job done, because without this you're not going to do very well with it. Now I mentioned the iron bone hand in the book a couple of times. Right? Now the iron bone hand is hitting with this part of the thumb here, so you're going in this way, and this is the striking point. You're hitting directly here so that the bone, now my wrist is bent in this particular case so it wouldn't work, but this is a bone and it transfers in here. This is fantastic. Stomach 9 and 10, fantastic. Coming in this way with the ridge hand, right? Instead of hitting up here with the ridge hand, you're hitting here with the ridge hand. Now it's the same hand position. Large intestine 18 is an example for that one, but it's the solidest method you're going to find to strike, and you are not concealing energy at this particular point in time. You're using metal energy, lung energy, and driving it in there, and you're also using metal energy and you're driving in there with the correct diurnal cycle direction. Yes, now lung is on the inside, correct? Doesn't matter. It still works there. Now if you do chi exercises for it and you need to think of a focal point doing that, in which here you would extend maybe this far with a spike or something, and you'll get a phenomenal result. Now you can play with that bone hand, the iron bone hand, on different pressure points. Don't play with it on stomach 9 and 10 or anything in which you can accidentally get a much more devastating result than you're looking for. Use it for the sole purpose of inducing pain when you're doing that. Now, mentioned with Heart 1. Heart 1 needs to be activated with a fist, basically, because it's the only tool that's going to fit. You're not going to come up this way with it. You're certainly not going to chop it with a knife hand. You pretty much got to punch it. But you're going to use what we've called the Eye of the Phoenix, or when I was a kid it was the noogie. Now the noogie is a loose fist, right? You can see here, even though my hand is closed, you can see my fingers are straight. I'm not going to ever do this. That conceals energy. You always want the tool loose. And of course, we don't want to go past the index finger. Now, you can't do it this way like you can with a punch because the thumb's in the way, but you can do it this way. This still enables the hand to be relatively flat, but this is pericardium. Pericardium is a powerful energy source. So if you're coming up underneath and you're going into into Heart 1, the result will be just astronomical. Now with pericardium too, you can punch it and get a pretty good result. But again, if you're coming in with this particular tool here into pericardium tool, it will escalate. Now the fist conceals energy. The tighter it is, the more energy it conceals. That's why it's only good for blunt trauma. Problem with blunt trauma, the fist breaks too. Right? Years ago, before I ever got involved in the kyusho aspects of the world, or the energy aspects, the idea of using energy in a martial arts system, I worked at Chrysler, and we had they just changed the line and they brought in these well, they went to just-in-time delivery from stock delivery, right? Because the warehouse, the plant was used as a warehouse as well, and it had like 2 weeks of stock in it at all times. And they went from that to having just-in-time delivery. So as your box of bolts runs out, there's a box of bolts coming. Now, I installed the bottom bolt and the shocks on one side, and typically you would have about 4 hours worth of stock sitting there for that. Okay? And they come in boxes that are about this big, but the boxes were never full. Right? They were about half full. Was part of that system. I don't understand why you would waste space in the box, but that's the way it was. And they came down on a roller system this way. And myself and a gentleman who ended up becoming one of my black belts, we used to sit there and we used to punch these things to see if we could get them to go up high enough with a short, like a 1-inch punch, to go up and reach the end of the rollers, right? Especially doing it if we had 2 or 3 left. Like if it was full, not so much, because it would, even though it would work, it wasn't quite the same. But you close your fist and you would do it. Well, there was one day I came into the plant and I did not know they had changed the system. The boxes were full, and I hauled off and I corked this thing, and I cracked this knuckle again because I've broken it several times. Made a mess of this one. My hand swelled up like a balloon. I had to take time off work for it. And that was hard to explain in the nurse's station. Well, yeah, I punched a box of bolts. Maybe you want to send me for psychological evaluation as well? I don't know. Right? But had the fist not been the idea of using the fist for blunt trauma, I would have had a different result with what happened to my hand from it. Now, when I did the video on the 6G hands, I call them the 6G hands, or the 6 energy hands of Kyusho Jitsu. Proper terminology for them is the 6G hands Bubishi. Today I will use that term. When I was coming up to doing the video course and coming up shortly afterwards, I never called it that because I didn't want to promote it as something that it actually wasn't, because first off, it's my version of it, and secondly, the 6th hand I left out and I put in my own. Right? And the reason that I did that was anything I looked at it from a practical point. Can I use this in self-defense today? Maybe it worked 1,000 years ago. Doesn't mean it works today. Right? Things have changed. And a lot of the stuff with the G hands that's so important with the G hands is a lot of it was designed to penetrate armor. Okay? However, the 5 plus my hand in there work very, very well if you can learn them well enough for street. Typically, I would pick on 1 or 2 and learn those, like the bone hand as an example, something that works for your root art. But anyways, what it is called is a water hand, right? Which is going from an open hand to a closed hand upon impact, grasping, which of course we teach, grasping. Now this is what, in actuality, Bruce Lee was doing with his 1-inch punch, but he didn't know it. Why do I say he didn't know it? Because he had sent Dillman to go learn that information. Right? He didn't have time to do it. He was a very, very busy guy, and he has asked George to do it. Now, Bruce may have had some ideas as to what was going on, but I doubt it because he trained for strength doing that. He had devised a method by which, with a bar, a plate, weight plate down the bottom, which he could crunch his up and build tremendous power in his wrist doing that, and get the 2-way action in there, which him and Wally J were involved in together. Okay? But it was actually more the grasping action, because you can do the 1-inch punch by grasping. Okay? So that is the other tool that I recommend placing with these pressure points. So you've got the bone hand and you've got the grasping hand. I recommend using those for pretty much all of the applications. You can also do the vibrating palm type thing, which we cover in the Dim Mak project in great detail, which is the opposite of the grasping hand, right? Which is going from the closed hand to the open hand and firing it in that way, depending on what you've got. That's a great opportunity for Spleen 21. So is the Eye of the Phoenix, which you could use if you've got a little bit better opportunity for the targeting. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this book. If you got questions, please feel free to ship them off. I'm always happy to answer them. Catch you soon. Ciao.